Hey guys, I want to take a minute to talk about some sugar swaps for holiday baking and holiday goodies. So we all know sugar is really harsh on the body, depleting, causes hormone disruptions, obviously can turn on diabetes and other things that aren't good. During the holidays, we want to treat ourselves, and I get that. So let's look at options that are going to be healthier, or an upgrade if you will. So I want to start with coconut sugar is better than cane sugar. Coconut sugar can come in a couple different forms. This is a granulated one. You can get it a little more powderized if you want it to be powderized more. And the taste is going to be a little bit more caramel-like, and it's going to work in your recipes one-to-one like cane sugar, coconut sugar, same thing. It is a little heavier, just a little bit. Just know when you're baking, you're going to be remembering that. So if I set out to make sugar cookies, full on straight up sugar cookies, then I will go with coconut sugar. You can look up any recipe, your favorite recipe of sugar cookies, and look up coconut sugar cookies, and you'll find them. It has a great flavor to it, and I feel like you use slightly less of it because coconut itself inherently is a little bit sweeter. So the other thing I like to work with is date sugar. This is one of my favorites because the date sugar has some really good nutrients in there, so we're going to get to retain some of the iron and potassium and magnesium and things of that nature. When you go to use date sugar, it does have slightly more of a brown sugar-ish taste and the way it bakes. It is a little more one-to-one ratio-wise. I like using that one better than cane sugar for sure, or even coconut sugar. Coconut sugar is a little more affordable than the date sugar. It's an investment, but you're going to get more nutrient-wise from the date sugar. You can also go with dried fruits. This is a way better way to work ingredients, and this I like to use in my breads or heavier things, pies, smoothies, that type of thing. You can use prunes, apricots, you can use raisins. Just think about the flavor because it will impart the flavor. Raisins in something that you're baking is amazing. Dates, that's my go-to for sugaring, for sweetening just about anything, right? So the way that I use dried fruit is I will soak it in filtered water, just enough to cover the container. If you need a cup of whatever it is dried fruit wise, I would take it and have just enough water to cover it, let it sit on the counter for at least an hour, maybe 30 minutes to an hour, until it's warm. I take all of it together. I put some of the water out, like half the water out, leave half the water in, the soap water, and then I put this in my blender or food processor, and I blend it up really, really well until it makes basically like a syrup. Now you're going to be using it like you would honey or maple syrup as a substitute in any of your recipes. So it is a little bit heavier, it's more liquid, which means you're going to be adding a little bit more dry ingredients to compensate for that, and you're going to be thinking about if you want bread and you want it to rise, it may not rise as much within it, this in it, or you need a little more baking soda, baking powder combo in there to have a little more fluff to it. Adding a little bit of starch like an arrowroot starch, potato starch, tapioca starch will also give you that little more lift when you're using something heavy like a syrup that you're making. I like this option because you're adding the fiber in there. That means your pancreas isn't going to do the spike that it normally does when we just have sugar, right? So it's going to be a little bit slower. Our body will process it a little bit better, and you're getting to retain the nutrients in there. So that's a win. You can also just full on straight up use apples and make it into an applesauce. There are a lot of recipes that will show you how to sweeten things with applesauce. Same with bananas as your sweetener. You just want to take your apple or your bananas and put it in the food processor to blend it really, really well until it's literally like honey, like a syrup. Then you're going to use it in the recipe like a syrup. Remembering you've added more liquid, so you need a little more dry to alter your recipes. The one thing about bananas that I like to teach people is that, yeah, if they're darkening and they're really sweet like this, there's more sugar. So you're going to still be able to use them even better, and you're going to get more sweetness without having to add actual sugar to whatever it is that you're baking. Again, remembering that heavy weight. If you need to do 0 sugar and you're working with things, you can work with stevia. I highly recommend avoiding the liquid stevia. Liquid stevia is made with a syrup, and oftentimes they will add other chemicals in there that you do not want, and it is not healthy. I use stevia powder or even stevia leaf, and I will add that. Remembering stevia, if you do too much, can have a bitter note to it, so you're adding less than you think of it. The ratios of that are going to be like any of your artificial sweetener substitutes, like your Sweet and Low and your Equal, whatever it says for that. You can use stevia for that. I just back it off a notch. The other option then would be monk fruit. You can use monk fruit in granulated form. They also have it in powdered form. Just know that this one is more of an equal 1-to-1 ratio in how you're sweetening things if you're using it in the granulated form, and you want to make sure that it's non-GMO at the very least if you can't get organic. So here's the thing about monk fruit. Some people don't tolerate it well because it is mixed with erythritol, and this is corn-based. This is why it's super important that it's at the very least non-GMO or organic. And those give you options, though, for something to have something with a sweet flavor and not actually have the sugar spike impact your body. So this gives you some ideas to go explore in your holiday baking with cookies and breads and pies and other alternatives that are way healthier. I hope you guys have fun with this, and just remember, natural health is totally doable.